Big story is tomorrow's State of the Union address, and I read that during President Obama's speech, one cabinet member will be asked to stay behind to run the government in case there's a crisis at the Capitol. At least that's what they're telling Biden. Oh, you got to stay in your room and be the boss of everything. Just stay home. You don't have to come, okay? Cool. You eat ice cream, all the ice cream you want.
Well, that State of the Union speech happening just 14 and a half hours from right now. You'll see it here on Fox. But did you know presidents are not required to give one? In fact, Jimmy Carter skipped one. So what are some of the more interesting tidbits about State of the Union speeches? Let's talk to presidential historian Jane Hampton Cook. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Okay, so who gave the longest one and the shortest one in American history?
Well, Bill Clinton in 1995 gave the longest. It was an hour and 25 minutes and over 9,000 words. And then our first president gave the shortest. George Washington's was 1,089 words. So we've, expanded things a little bit since George Washington.
Was the long one, Jane, that Bill Clinton gave the year that they had the wrong thing, the teleprompter, and he wound up doing it by memory for like the first half hour?
Very possibly. But, President Clinton was known to be a little long-winded, and so he toned it down a little bit after that in subsequent speeches.
Okay, so we've seen how the length has changed over time, perhaps. What about tech? How's that actually impacting the State of the Union?
Well, the technology has expanded the State of the Union for just the audience of Congress to the American people. So when Calvin Coolidge gave his in 1923, people could listen to it for their first time on radio. Harry Truman in 1947 was the first time people could watch it on TV. George W. Bush, 2002, Internet was the first broadcast of a State of the Union. So it really has expanded the audience.
Yeah.
Technology has.
And now we expanded the audience actually there. There are hundreds of guests now. There used to be just a handful. Now just about everybody is taking some significant guest. What about the memorable State of the Union addresses, the one that made a difference? I mean, it's hard to think that year 6 of a second term is going to make that big of a difference. But let's listen to Bill Clinton, you picked out in 1996. You think this stood out. Listen.
The era of big government is over. We must go forward as one America, one nation, working together to meet the challenges we face together.
Democrat making that statement, is that why it was significant?
It was significant because it was a legacy speech. He reached across the aisle and said, hey, I'm going to work with the Republicans. And they came up with welfare reform, a federal balanced budget for the first time in 1998 in years. So it was significant because it really cemented Bill Clinton's legacy as someone who could work with the other side. And
So
I think that's why it was significant.
Moving forward for tonight, do you think this will be a lame duck address or it will be a legacy State of the Union address?
It's shaping up to be a lame duck because if you were serious about working with the Republicans, you would not propose $320 billion in tax increases. And so it doesn't really seem like, it seems like Obama's playing to his base, not really speaking to the new Republican Congress.
Well, you know what, Jane, maybe the president's listening right now. He's going to rip up that speech he was going to give and do something new that's going to be big and bold, and people are going to see it tonight at 9 right here on Fox.
That's right.
All right. Jane Hampton Cook, presidential historian, joining us from our nation's capital. Thank you.
Thanks, Jane.
Hey, you know what? If it was Bill Clinton, it could happen. He used to write, they used to be written all the way up as he was going over to give the address.
But they put the wrong one in the teleprompter, and the guy was trying to all over, and he couldn't find it, and the president was just going by memory. And then eventually, I want to say like a half an hour in, they found the right disc to put in the teleprompter.
Which is impressive to be able to do that.
Very impressive.